It's my fault, but we're here now. Apologies for being late, but we got a lot to talk about. Exciting times, fellas. We got the roundtable back together. Mr. Arrington, Mr. Morrow, Tran, everybody's here. So what's going on, everyone? And by the way, thank you guys. Before I get started and we jump right into arguing with each other about Texas and SEC, thank you for 10K. We did it, and it's our first live since hitting 10K, so really, really appreciate it. Hopefully everybody out there can hear us and is watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So with the crew in here, y'all know the deal. When you come into our live attendance, hit that like button and continue to help us grow the platform and subscribe. Brandon, Billy, looks like we're about to be your new neighbors. We're moving into the neighborhood. How you guys feeling about it? I'm gonna pass it over to our SEC brethren here.
Hey, welcome to the neighborhood. That's what I'll say. Just make sure you got your big boy pants on, and you're gonna be in a dogfight every week.
That wasn't your energy when we first talked, bro.
Hey, my energy. Look, if we want to talk about competitive advantage, okay, that's a whole different thing. But we can dive into that later. My energy since then still there. I've just, I've calmed down.
Billy,
I think. Well, first of all, on the LSU side, we'll be waiting on you. Don't worry, we'll be there. So, I think that's what they want to do. The money, blah blah blah. That's cool. I mean, if we're gonna bring two people, I think it should be Texas and OU. They're close. Yeah, two powerhouses. It is a good decision if you're looking at it as a business entity. Now, I do understand why A&M people should be, and have been, and are coming out of it, like Brandon said, a little hot about the situation for obvious reasons. I think now they've kind of caught their breath and realized, okay, we get to play them again. It makes sense. We're still mad about the Longhorn Network. Don't you try to forget that. Okay, and that's fair.
It's not going to be there when they jump, so
I know.
That's
and so news. That's where it is for them. But us, bring them on. We'll be there. You know where we'll be, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So it'll be fun. I'm excited, honestly. I think it's.
So look, when it comes to the competitive advantage, for me, it was nice being able to go into a recruit's living room and be like, hey, you want to play football in the state of Texas and be in the SEC? Come to Texas A&M. That's an easy sell. Won't be like that. Now we have to up our game and be like, look, if you want to play for the best team in Texas in the SEC, come to Texas A&M. And that's what we have to do.
Tran?
Hey, man, I'm just whatever. I just want to put the ball on the field. Everyone's all talking about that. Hey, let's put your big boy pants on. I'm not afraid of a challenge, and I'm pretty sure the egos of the young men that we have on the roster aren't afraid of the challenge. So it's something that's good for football, college football, honestly. I think we talked about it in probably two of our little roundtables before that. It was going to this. It's just who was going to make the first blow, and it made a lot of sense for both parties. The SEC knew that Oklahoma and Texas were going to be courted by all the other power conferences. Why would they want them to go somewhere else? So it made sense. I know from a A&M perspective, it didn't make sense, but business dollars make sense in college football world. And I agree. And, the people that really are making the decision, the Alabamas, the Floridas, the LSU, sorry, didn't mean to leave you out, Billy, but they're like, we're not scared of Texas. Bring their money. We'll introduce them to the league, and that's, I think, where a lot of Texas fans thought it was funny, because it seemed like the energy from A&M fans was that they were scared. And I'm not necessarily, you and I have had these talks offline. I don't necessarily think that they're scared. I think that they like the fact that, hey, they could go into every single recruit's living room and say that, like, hey, Texas is playing in the Big 12. Yeah, it's a good conference, but it's not the SEC. So and now Texas does have that.
So, Brandon, you're throwing your head back. I understand the frustration when you hear scared, right? Because I know for you were like, I'm more so upset because I liked having the recruiting advantage.
Miffed. He said miffed.
He said miffed. Miffed was the word. Brandon was miffed.
Word for word, miffed.
Brandon was miffed.
I was miffed, indeed.
But brother, if y'all see, here's the thing, and this is my thing specifically to Texas A&M. I wish y'all as a fan base, as an administration, everybody except for the players, I wish y'all reacted the way the players did, because the players, when this news broke, a lot of your players all over social media reacted the way Billy did. Bring it. That should have been the energy. Bring it. Let's play. Boom. I'm excited to play Texas. I want to prove that we're the best school in Texas. There is no debate. Yes, we are recruiting to the best conference and the SEC, no doubt about that. You'll always be able to claim, hey, we were also the first school in the SEC. You want to say you're a landmark school, whatever you want to do to sharpen up your pitch. I felt like that should have been the energy of the fans. You've been in the SEC for 10 years. You've been building this thing up. Right. Have this. Where's the confidence? The moment this news broke, all I saw was tears. Not from the players.
Not from me.
And then players were like, bring it.
We're not saying from you.
Come on now.
But we're not saying from you.
And I can't speak for all of the A&M fan base. I mean, we're going to have those Twitter trolls just doing what they do, right? I mean, for me, my only thing, like I was miffed because of the competitive advantage that we lose. Other than that, there's nothing to fit. Texas has been extra mediocre the last 10 years since we made the move. After facing Bama, LSU, Auburn the past 10 years, why would we fear Texas at this point? Now, I like what Sark is building as far as the coaching staff, what he's doing and changing the culture. I like it. Don't forget, I said he was a great pickup for you guys, which you completely stepped over that, but that's a whole nother conversation. So I like what and I think he'll have success there. But right now, as it stands, there's nothing to fear with Texas on the football field. But as you said earlier, this is about dollars and cents. And, hey, you guys have the best brand in football. I can't deny that.
Thank you for the $5 donation, JDT Turbo. You made a comment about, sorry, but Texas couldn't find success in the Big 12 and will only be worse going to the SEC. Texas already wastes 4- and 5-star players. That's why we have a new coaching staff in place. That's why we have a whole new regime in place. So we will see if this staff does better. Look, I am not arguing. So somebody asked me about this on Twitter today, fellas, about Texas in general and the success and blah, blah, blah about in regards to football. There's no doubt about it. How badly we've underachieved. That's all very well documented. However, when you look at the fact that the rest of our athletic programs, right? Because he was like, hey, this is a football only move. Football drives the bag. Football is the breadwinner for all of this. There's no conversation behind this without football. No doubt about it. However, when you look at what Texas is bringing to the table, winning the Directors Cup, how dominant they have been across the board in sports, football is really the last domino to drop. Like if once, and I'm going to say this, once Texas gets their act together on the football field, because you guys, and Josh Pate, I talked about some of my last video, these are 40-year decisions, not 4-year decisions, or when you have a down period. But once Texas figures that last domino out, I mean, come on, fellas. I mean, you're talking about one of the signature Division I programs, one of the signature sport programs and brands in all of sports. That is extremely significant. Look at the paragraph, because that wasn't a letter that Texas and OU president sent to the SEC asking for it. They sent a paragraph. And if you read that paragraph, it was, hey, we're coming. You guys should have us. On one hand, this is beneficial for us. On the other hand, it's beneficial for you. End sentence, sign Jay Hartzell, sign OU president. That was the letter. So this thing is already, I'm not going to say it's done deal. Obviously, there's things that need to happen behind the scenes, but like both sides understand the value of what's coming to the table here.
I'll say it's a done deal. I'll say it's a done deal.
I mean, I feel like it's a done deal too.
Yeah.
It's formal at this point.
I think it's a done deal too.
It's been a done deal for probably a month or so now. It's just that it's going to be finalized this week. The question that I have is, will it honestly be? Will they have to wait till 2025?
Good question, Billy, Brandon. What do y'all think?
I think at the latest right now, I probably believe 2023. I just don't see how you guys, with Texas and OU making their intentions known, how the Big 12 can sustain itself that long. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I see at the latest 2023.
I think at the latest 2023 as well. I think with the energy that is happening across the Big 12 and the demise of the Big 12, the fall of the Big 12, these schools are now in survival mode. And I know you have the Oklahoma State president. She's throwing a fit on Twitter and trying to bully OU and talk about the state pride of Oklahoma. Those efforts will not work, ma'am. I appreciate the efforts, but those efforts, ma'am, will not work. OU's not coming back. They're not going to remain loyal to the state of Oklahoma and negate the millions and millions of dollars that are on the table here. Right. That's just facts.
Wasn't this OU's idea, though? Weren't they the ones who set this all in motion?
I'm pretty sure that's what I
agree with them. So I can't blame them for that.
Yep, I knew what they were doing.
So it's just funny to me when I look at, the reason why I don't think this is going to take very long is because schools are going to, in the Big 12, are going to try to jump in front of each other to get into the Pac-12, into the Big 10. Kansas, and they all are right now putting their resumes out there. Kansas is saying we're bringing a blue blood basketball program. Mm-hmm. Baylor's saying we're bringing elite basketball programs, including the reigning national champion men's basketball team, right? Like all these people, Iowa State's making their case. Hey, we can play Iowa, we can play Nebraska, we can do all this stuff in the Midwest, Texas Tech, Pac-12. Like all these schools are trying to make, I feel like there's going to be so much to try to position themselves for survival that it will make sense for the Big 12 to fall and make it easier for Texas and OU to move over to the SEC without having to pay whatever the $75 million or $80 million penalty to break the grant of rights.
I still think they're going to have to pay that, though.
I think they're going to have to pay it, agreed. And I see it next year. I think that this year they'll play in the Big 12, and next year they're going to come on board. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. If the ball is in motion like we all seem to think, and it appears that way, I don't see the ball slowing down for 4 more years, because at that point a lot of things can change, and I don't really see it slowing down for 2. So that's just what I see right now. Obviously things can change. I have no idea, but I did see Jesus ask me a question about the pod scenario.
Yes.
And how I'm happy to avoid playing Texas. I'm not sure how the question was worded, but I wanted to make sure to answer that. I like the pods. I think it's a great idea. I actually think 16 needs to be the max number. I know I've seen reports in that they went after Ohio State and Clemson and Florida State. I personally don't think that's a good idea. I think at that point you're cornering the market, and sometimes that can lead to potentially killing the game. If you're looking at big picture, because at the end of the day, if you love football, you want football to be successful everywhere in the United States. So you got to be careful with that. And if you're actually looking at it, if you truly care about the product and you care about football, then you should look at the whole United States. And obviously we want to win, but you can cause issues by going too far with change at times. Okay. That's the first thing. The pods I like, and no, I'm not worried about who I play, dude. We play whatever you want. We play.
Don't be PC. Just be like, I don't give a shit who I play.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't. Not one bit. We play whoever we play, who's on the schedule. Like that's just.
It is what it is.
Right. We've been. Just go look around and maybe look at some natties and who's been. And you'll find out we're ready to go.
Oh, I know Billy. Billy, that's why I love Billy. That's always been his energy. You line him up, we'll knock him down. Mm-hmm. And so you've never shied away from competition. I think for everybody, this is good in terms of regionally for the sport, to Billy's point. And this is why I'm advocating for, if we're going to do 4 super conferences, that they need to really be careful with the regions and how they align them. Like West Virginia, for example, because I want to get to Mike's super chat. Thank you for the $10 donation, Mike, and get to your question. But West Virginia, I want them to go to the ACC. I want them to renew the rivalry with Pitt. I grew up in that area up in Maryland.
Cool.
Like that was a big deal back in the day. Pat White, Steve Slayton, right? Like all them boys, Noel Devine. Like that was, even back to the Chris Henry days. May he rest in peace. And Larry Fitzgerald, all those dudes. Like that even goes back to like when they were all those Big East teams. If you add in a Virginia Tech, get those teams back together regionally. That makes sense for West Virginia. West Virginia adds value to the ACC. They're not going to be asked to carry the bag as the fourth or fifth team per se, but they're going to be a good team that's always going to make your conference look good athletically because they're going to be competitive in basketball. They're going to be competitive in football, great wrestling program, blah, blah, blah. So these teams regionally need to make sense, like up and down to Clemson, Florida State, Miami. That needs to be a whole region. That West Coast, starting with Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, get those teams together. Now, the team I'm curious about, because they played an ACC schedule last year, was Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And eventually they're going to have to make a decision, I feel like.
Big Ten or ACC.
It might help if they do, like, depending how these, regions shape out, that they, are part of. If you're playing an ACC schedule, which they pretty much have, they play like 4 or 5 games, right? Not the full, but
they played a true ACC schedule
last year, right? Okay. Yeah. Even if they're independent, they can still in football or figure a way, because they shape their schedule pretty dang well, in my opinion. It just will be interesting. Will a region want to go to 17 teams in like basketball and then baseball? That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So I think that's going to be the question. You might still have a couple independents, and it might not be the worst thing in the world. I do believe you need to be a part of a conference because it's shaping out that way. But I don't know. I'm TBD on that. Just kind of how that all works out. I think they're going to go to the ACC, but
if anyone can remain independent, it will be Notre Dame, simply because they have the money to do so, and they have the brand behind them. I mean, no other school. What was it? NBC that they have? ABC that they have their deal with?
NBC.
I mean, each senior gets like 90 seconds on NBC. Like, that's ridiculous.
Sure, but the problem is the playoffs is going to be their issue.
They
would have to play. They would have to. I mean, if we form these 4 conferences, they're going to have to play inside of them. Like, they couldn't avoid it, which could favor them if they're playing, teams from the SEC, ACC, maybe even Pac-12, if this, forms and comes to fruition.
I want to get to Mike's question, since he was nice enough to leave us a donation. Aside from A&M game coming back, what potential matchups are you most looking forward to? I mean, honestly, just that whole, and I know this is going to be a kind of a cop-out answer, at least for me, but from seeing other regions I've never been to, other cities, like I'm excited. And, I'm going to throw some shade at Lubbock. I was never excited to go to Lubbock to watch a game. I'm excited as hell to go to Ole Miss or to see LSU and tailgate at LSU. Like, we didn't even get that opportunity like we were supposed to, and see Texas down there, see Burnt Orange in some of these stadiums. Eventually, we have the home and home schedule with Bama, but actually getting to see that. And it means something, not just an out-of-conference game to kind of measure up the way you will see Clemson and Georgia open, but something with real meat, something of real substance that will determine whether or not we make it to a conference title game. Like, I'm excited to see that at night on CBS with the prime time people calling the game. So for me, that would be my answer.
Mine is actually above all other ones is Florida. I mean, you all know that Florida is my second favorite team. I've always wanted to see a game in Gainesville, and that's one that I'd fly out to. You have my money. Just I'll hand it all over. I know Brandon's my travel buddy, so this whole group will go with me to Florida.
Oh, I'll go. Yeah,
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I will
CB, what's good, baby?
I do like the pods. At first I was like, oh, we're going to do this big, and when the pods is the idea, I said, oh, wow, that's good. Because now you have a true rotation, hopefully. I don't know if they're going to do common opponents or you play. I think you're going to have a couple common opponents, I would imagine. Obviously, we'll have Florida, I would assume. But you're going to have a rotation of you play this pod this year, hopefully every 4 years. if you play them back to back, you're going to have opportunity to go to their place and, they come to your place if they do that correctly with the pods. Now that's some scheduling scenarios, but I think that would be, because we're playing Kentucky for the first time in like 8 or 9 years. So that I don't want to see, because what's the purpose? I mean, like, the purpose is to play these opponents. So they need to set it up where these pods, you're attached. And I don't know how you do it with the common opponent, because that year they're whatever. I'm not a scheduler, but that's what I want. That's what I'm looking forward to, and I believe they can do that. So,
are you talking about like the common opponent? Are you talking like what the NFC East, like when they play the AFC, they have to play a certain division? Okay. Correct. Okay, yeah. I actually like that, but I think it still leaves 2 extra games, which benefits everyone. That they could just have 2 random other SEC teams.
I think they need to. I mean, I believe that we still need to play. I don't want us to go to all SEC, because, like I said, I'm looking at a big picture of football here, and some people are like, oh, we should play. Well, I believe that, our sport is built to where these other colleges also have programs, and I think it's great to be playing an in-state school that might not be in your conference. Because
no. You'll still have the you do the
you hear that,
because everyone in your division, you're only playing 3 games, and then if you play another common pod, that's 7 games. So then you'd have to play 2 more, and then you have 3 non-conference.
I mean, you're looking at about 9 SEC. If we go to 16, you're looking at 9 SEC games.
Yeah, I mean that's
still
the math.
Room
so
for out of conference.
Hey, CB, can you send over that link for the West Virginia pitch, please?
Also, I did see one guy ask about. He mentioned something about the baseball series between LSU Texas and Texas A&M, and how cool that was going to be. And we hadn't really hit too much on baseball, but considering Texas is really, the coach has done excellent since he's been here, and just kind of the programs at hand with LSU and A&M. But they got a new, Jim came down from TCU. LSU got, it's going to be really competitive recruiting wise and fun. But it always has been in baseball for,
Billy, I want to get to the baseball discussion in a second. So let's table that real quick. But I want to get back to that because there's some things I wanted to touch on. Matthew Miller, thank you for your super chat. What team in the Big 12 is in the worst position for realignment? Right now, I think that is Kansas State. Very worried about Kansas State.
Me too.
Reason being, they don't have a signature program right now that I can think of that draws significant revenue that is desirable to the Big 10 or to the Pac-12, what have you. Like, I think they're in trouble. TCU is a little bit more solid across the board, and TCU has really good baseball. They have, basketball, they've been down with Jamie Dixon, but football, we've seen TCU at least be good recently. Kansas State, it's not the Kansas State that we knew when we were teenagers, guys.
No.
You know what I mean?
Jordy Nelson, Kansas State.
with Darren Sproles and Michael Bishop and all them dudes, like that's not the same K-State. And and they've been the quietest ones. I hear from everybody in the Big 12 because there's a lot of people act like I don't, or Texas fans, we've been gloating and we've been happy and all this type of stuff. But there's a lot of good people and friends that I have that I've met in this conference. And I feel bad, like from a standpoint for them, for what I know that they're going through, because I know how I'd be feeling. I'd be feeling some type of way if I was one of those teams and I felt like we just came off Big 12 Media Days. We have all this momentum and then boom, this news hit. So I understand for those people out there. Now, if you're in Lubbock, I don't feel bad for you at all. You can kiss my black ass. But for everybody else, I feel bad, and I hope that they find a home. And I hope that to Billy's point, the art of college football continues. But for me, and to Matthew's question here, K-State would be the team I'm really, really concerned about.
One thing that your people aren't really touching on is the transfer portal. Like it's open season now. Are we going to see a lot of those teams, test the market and see who would want them on their teams? Like say Kansas State. Who's their running back? Chris.
Deuce Vaughn.
Deuce Vaughn, yeah. Deuce Vaughn is a beast. Like
all 5'5" of them.
Yeah, he's really good. Say he tests the market. That's when you're going to see teams like that. That's going to suck for those teams, and that's where it's really bad.
So let's move on to the next thing. How do you guys think? So one of the things from a Texas standpoint, and I saw somebody tweet this today, and I thought it was hilarious because it was true. The most tame game that Texas or OU will have that is not at home will be against each other. Because I can only imagine because I feel like in everybody's mind, this is probably the last season of the Big 12. I can only imagine the energy Texas or Texas in particular will have when they go to Iowa State, when they go to Ames, or when they come to TCU. It's already bad when people see the Stormtrooper whites come out, or the icy whites, however you want to classify the Texas road jerseys. But it's going to be a whole nother level. Steve Sarkisian's first year, right off the bat, with all this energy coming down. No. I think in a weird way, though, with all that hate, there's a great opportunity to embrace being the villain and come out there and tag these dudes. Like, I'm actually excited to see that element. What say you fellas?
I'll let the SEC Ken Folk go first.
I mean, all that's cute and sounds great, but at the end of the day, I mean, you got to win, bro. So, and it's reality. Like, it does. You're going to have a hostile environment. You're going to have it. It's going to be, in some places, in Ames, Iowa, it's going to be hostile, no doubt, considering the situation. And I think actually it'll be good for y'all because that team's young this year. And if you do move into the conference next year, I mean, you had a little preparation for it because it's going to be hostile again for your first time when you go on the road in the SEC. So it might not be the worst thing for you guys, but you still, got to line them up and see how you do.
Yeah.
So there's this question on the screen that I put here from Goop 321 that said, when is somebody going to say the obvious that Texas is acting like the big dog when we all know the SEC wouldn't touch Texas without OU? Now, I want to address this one. So,
I understand why he said that, but I will disagree with it.
Right.
I'll let you answer, but I'll be after you, sir.
2 parts. Number one, Texas and OU are going to remain together. Mm-hmm. They're always going to be in lockstep. However they were going to move the Pac-12 thing back from, I think, 2012, they were going to be in lockstep there. So Texas and OU are always going to be in lockstep. Again, back to the 40 years over recency on the football field. Yes, Texas is underachieved on the football field. However, you are talking about the number one revenue generating college in America. You're talking about one of the largest brands, the eyeballs that they bring. Yes, Texas is a big dog in the room with their own network and all that. And I understand, like, people talking about the Longhorn Network going to lose Longhorn Network. I will repeat what I said the other day. That will blend into SEC network. That's fine. There'll be more, they'll probably have to do a little bit more regional coverage for teams like A&M and even go up north to OU. That's all well and good. The way we consume content today is much different than when that network came out 10 years ago. People are streaming. Some people still have cable and all those type of things, but there's a reason why 400 some odd people are watching us right now. We are the content. The content that is created that people are diving into and constantly are watching. Various YouTube channels, Nino's in here, Lando's in here, Texas Homer, all the people. We're doing more diverse content than LHN is. Now, I understand LHN is covering all the sports, and there is a place and purpose for that will still find a new home wrapped up within the SEC network umbrella. But my bigger, greater point here is, regardless of what their on-the-field records are, Texas does numbers. And as long as you're doing numbers, you will always have a seat at the table and a lot of times lead the discussion. That is my answer. I will cede the floor.
I agree. I think everything you said was correct. I do believe the Longhorn Network is a little outdated and is an SEC guy who can watch every LSU baseball game through a stream, which I do quite often. Talking about content, you're correct. But I do believe they're tied together. And you also said that at the beginning, is that, and the question says, who's the big dog? Okay, Texas makes the most money, but right now what OU has going on,
no doubt,
they need to be. There's a reason that rivalry, those two institutes, like they do well together. And honestly, if I'm Oklahoma State, I'm mad at a team, A&M, who, if they didn't jump ship so early, Oklahoma State would probably be tied with this, and it wouldn't be Missouri. But that's a whole different discussion. So I'm with you. I do believe that both of them are tied together. They need to come together. They were coming together wherever they went. Wherever they went, they were together. And I'm excited. I like it. I mean, I don't know why, I kind of feel like you kind of Texas people, I mean, all the money's cute and all, but we got to play ball. Like,
Absolutely.
I agree.
I mean, A&M got money too. So, I mean, I don't know where you're getting about all. A&M's got the money too. Like, so it's not like they're loaded too. Like, they're big time. Yeah. So,
and like Steve said, though.
But you're right. It's fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
But like Steve said, this comes down to the brand. Yes, OU initiated the conversation. We get that. But why? I mean, it makes sense when you bring $1 billion brand into the organization. So now, do I think Texas is going to have the same power they had in the Big 12 and the SEC? Absolutely not. Now, if they win, that could change. But making that jump right now, absolutely not. I mean, you're not going to walk into a conference that's had Bama in the run that they've had at national championships on the football field with the product they're producing. You're not going to come in there and have a say over them. Now, are they going to listen to what you say? Obviously, right? Even OU, they're going to listen to what they have to say. But as far as being the big dogs, you got to earn that in the SEC. And I did see one comment that said Texas will be the academic flagship of the SEC. Clearly, that person's never heard of Vanderbilt. So that's my point about some UT fans. They just don't get it yet.
So shout out to Texas Football Talk. I apologize for my brothers over there. We just did a video together a couple weeks ago, did a live together with those guys. I apologize for that. And somebody even mentioned RJ Young building up his entire brand on YouTube. This is a the way people consume content is vastly different. So hopefully everybody understands that point. Brandon, in terms of the academics, you're right. Now, Texas was, and this is interesting because we've had a change in leadership. So when the previous Texas president was here, he was trying to model himself. He wanted to be Stanford. That was their goal. They wanted to look like Stanford. They wanted to be strong across the board, really push their academics. I'm not saying Jay Hartzell's not big on academics or anything like that. But what I am saying is Jay Hartzell and Chris Del Conte and even Kevin Teifel, like, they are athletic killers. Like, they're here for a reason, and they're here. And honestly, everything I'm saying right now is talk until Texas proves it on the football field, because the balls all are already rolling in pretty much every other sport that Texas has. But until Texas does it on the football field, you guys are absolutely right. You can't come to the table and say anything to Alabama. The thing is, Texas could still say stuff to the Kansas States and the TCUs and the Techs of the world because they weren't pulling numbers.
Right.
They weren't pulling numbers. So even when Texas was going 5-7, they could still dictate everything. You can't come in there and dictate when Georgia and Auburn are going to play. That game's going to put up numbers. Back in the day, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia. No matter what is on CBS or ESPN, they're putting up numbers. But the thing is, Texas is also not going to have to carry the bag. OU's not going to have to carry the bag anymore for the whole damn conference either. So they're looking. I think it's going to be a healthy partnership in that regard.
Sure, but that was also a little self-inflicted.
Would you care to elaborate, Mr. Arrington?
No, I'm good with that. We're just going to leave it right there. We're going to leave it at that.
He had a point.
Let's move on.
Look, guys, at the end of the day, this is I'm a history buff. From a historical standpoint, we are watching history happen, they're going to write about stuff like this. The books will be written about what is happening right now in the state of college football, the state of name, image, likeness, the state of this playoffs, all of these dominoes that are just falling right before us. And we're seeing people, new waves, because I talked about the leadership at Texas, and this is something else. Leadership across the board. Sankey that runs the SEC, these new commissioner. Bob Bowlesby is going to be one of the people that people look at, the Big 12 commissioner, and say, you failed. There's going to be so many different people they point to, or some of these older heads where it's like, dude, y'all turned us into the Blockbuster in this situation. Y'all turned us into Kodak or whatever. And like, we fell behind. We're Circuit City. We're out of business because of how you led us. We weren't forward thinking. We weren't ahead of the curve. Right. And so we're watching all of this happen real time. And for me, as a college football fan, because I'm with Billy on this, I'm a college football fan as well. I want all regions to be good. It's fascinating to watch. It's absolutely fascinating to watch.
It's the best
product. You think it will stop at 16?
I hope.
I mean, I hope too, but hell, I hope Texas didn't join, but that didn't happen. So,
well, they got an old saying. What did they say? You know, something about hold a hand out, and you know, wishing one, shitting out, or something. See which one fills up first.
Oh, I missed the super chat. Nathan Chung, $15. Appreciate the donation. And by the way, we have 466 people in here in the chat. We're 36 minutes in. I appreciate you guys. Horns up for those of you who are my Horns fans. I know we got a lot of people in here. Big 12 fans, probably going to be getting some new SEC fans in here hopefully soon. But 466, when you guys come into our chat, hit that like button. That's your way of taking attendance. Now,
hey, Steve,
yes.
Well, not to cut you off, Steve. Welcome to the SEC. Welcome.
Thank you.
Official
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Billy.
Yes, sir. We'll have some fun together. Yes, sir. All right.
See, Brandon, that's how you welcome somebody to a conference. Take notes.
I'm sorry, what? I couldn't hear you.
Notes, Brandon.
What was that? Can you repeat what happened?
You don't send out angry text messages to your friends. That's
I
not what.
I wasn't angry.
You were furious.
Miffed.
I was not furious.
Miffed.
I was
were
miffed.
furious.
I was not angry. I was miffed because we lost our competitive advantage. I was miffed. That's it.
I was messing with him the whole time when we were working out later that day. I was like, yeah, use that anger. Use that anger.
Channel that anger.
UT won't hurt you here.
Hey, again, it was nice walking into a recruit room or house and just saying, hey, if you guys want to play ball in Texas, in the SEC, A&M's the spot to be. Now we just got to keep the momentum from last year. We have to win this year, and then we can say, hey, if you want to play ball at the best school in Texas, in the SEC, come to A&M. But we got to prove it on the field. So, yes, I was missed. But
I want to address something you just said, Brandon. Let me read Nathan's question real quick because he did donate some money to us. And this is a money-led conversation. He said, what happens to the players who all of a sudden goes from playing on a Power 5 team to FCS? Do they get all transfers? That's not fair to the players. Look, nobody's going to the FCS. That's not what the discussion is here. They'll still be FBS schools. Now, they may not be Power 5. And they may still be Power 5. That's part of the realignment. And what we've all been talking about here is taking care of the sport while these decisions are being made so that these teams like a Kansas State, like a TCU, find a proper home where they are still competitive, can still serve their fans. But nobody's going to the FCS. I want to address A&M, Brandon. I feel like there's pressure on y'all to win right now because you know 10 years in, y'all had a top 5 finish. I was with y'all about making the playoffs. I'm gonna say that I was with y'all. I am on record on this channel. I felt like y'all should have made the playoffs over Notre Dame. I felt like you deserved it. However, with Texas coming, with OU coming, because I noticed y'all never mention OU. Y'all always talk about Texas and recruiting the state of Texas. Meanwhile, we're competing against the same areas as OU. Y'all never bring up OU. Billy, jump in.
I didn't say nothing. I understand you've seen OU the last 5, 6, 7 years. They've been loaded. They poach us every now and then. We deal with them too. I know they recruit the hell out of it. Okay?
I mean, why wouldn't you recruit Texas? You know?
Yeah,
I get it.
I understand.
The best players in college football come out of the South here. Mostly. So
Sam Kim, salt.
You salty?
Sprinkle some salt.
Say what?
Once again, Texas didn't put this in motion. But we're just covering for OU. We're just like, whatever. OU just brought us a nice revenue stream. We'll cover you for this one. We'll take it.
I want to get back to my point,
for
Brandon.
the Crimson, huh?
Brandon, y'all been recruiting well.
Yep.
The line is there. Isaiah Spiller's there. Achain, all these people.
LJ Johnson.
We gotta win now, brother.
I agree. I completely agree.
We gotta win now.
9-1 in an all SEC schedule. Now we have the light schedule that we need to make a good run. We should be undefeated going into Bama. We should compete with Bama. We're starting to get the line. I mean, so our defensive line is great. The Marvin Leal is going to be a beast. He should be a first rounder. Offensive line, very young, but very talented. That's to be determined. But I think, again, with the schedule that we have, there's good opportunity to build continuity there. We have the skill players around. We might actually see Baylor Cupp for the first time in 3 years. And to me, Weidemeyer and Baylor Cupp, that sounds like a 12 personnel from hell that you just don't want to face.
The thing I'm worried about dudes like that get hurt that bad. Like we had a dude back in the day, Tran, you might remember his name, the tight end that Texas had that was so promising, and he suffered so many injuries, and we couldn't.
Blaine Irby.
Irby.
He's married to one of my wife's really good friends. Yeah, Blaine Irby.
Oh, wow, random fact of the day.
Random fact.
Random fact.
Hear Christy laugh, matter of fact.
No, is she somewhere over here? No, I don't know. That is. No, that's how I knew it. I was like, it's Blaine Irby. Yeah.
Oh, man. Michael Sproul calling you out here, Brandon. He said, wait a minute. He said light schedule. I thought that didn't exist in the SEC.
I'm not talking about the SEC West now. Yeah, the SEC West is still the SEC West. You still have to go through the Auburns, the Bamas, Ole Miss at their place. But I'm talking about the non-conference in particular. I mean, Colorado, we should handle Colorado. Let's be real. New Mexico and Kent State, we should handle them. Arkansas, they haven't really beat us yet, I don't think.
Can I ask you a question? And you this is not me being a dick at all, but no, I'm being dead serious. Are you at all worried that you're now facing a team that has another year behind them? Didn't have a shortened. You're facing a whole bunch of teams that don't have shortened off seasons, that aren't breaking in new coaching staffs. I mean, think of LSU. LSU played you pretty well to a point, and they just seemed discombobulated all year until the Florida game. Lane Kiffin has a full season behind him, and now he has a full off season, no COVID interruptions. You have the Pirate up there who's now going to install his offense and hopefully get his offensive lineman in motion on what he wants to do offensively. Alabama's the only one that's now breaking in something new. Are you at all worried about teams that, okay, now they have, hey, we know what they want to do. They want to run the ball. They want to run the ball against us.
I mean, we have no Kansas on our schedule. You know, we have nobody like that. Of course, when you're going through the SEC West, like, any team can beat you on any given Saturday, especially if you don't show up and play your brand of football. Yes, our brand of football is smash you in the mouth, let our line wear on you, run you down with our stable of running backs that we have. And, hey, once you suck down, we have athletic receivers and tight ends that if you're going to leave them solo coverage, good luck. So am I concerned? I mean, yes, there's cause for concern there, but I'm not overly concerned because as Steve said, we've been recruiting well. If we continue to play our brand of football, if we continue to just do what we're good at and not let other teams' schemes and plans dictate what we do, I think we should be competitive in every game this year.
I really do like that. I really wasn't being a jerk, but you did throw in the fact of the Kansas, like throwing a little jab at us. You guys played. Vanderbilt went 0-9 as well. So
I mean, in the first game of the season. Okay.
We didn't play Kansas.
Yeah, we didn't play Kansas, Brandon.
And then you almost lost to them the year before, right?
A win's a win, right?
I agree.
You almost lost to Vanderbilt last year too, though, right?
Hey, like this friend just said, a win's a win, especially in the SEC, right?
Thanks,
SEC brother.
I agree with you. It worked both ways in that situation.
I completely agree. And like we talked offline, Taran, in the SEC, it doesn't matter if you win by 1 or 101. So even if Texas comes in and wins games by 1 point, hey, you still proved your value. That's just the brand of football. That's the conference, especially in the SEC West. I mean, East not as much, but SEC West for sure. You went through that. You go through that gauntlet. Like, that speaks volumes in the landscape of college football.
And side note, you're playing. Aren't you playing Kent State this year?
Hey, you know what? We need a game to get these linemen some continuity. I think Kent State's a perfect situation for that.
You're playing a trash Colorado Buffalo team.
Hey, you played them in a bowl game last year.
That's what I'm saying.
I know they're trash.
Hey,
and then,
you're playing.
Right afterwards,
then we have to go through.
You go to New Mexico. So I mean, come on now. You have legit a preseason.
No. What did I say? What did I say? I said what? We should be undefeated going into Bama. Did I not say that? So I'm saying yes. We should run through these games. That includes Arkansas and Mississippi State, who you conveniently left out of that conversation before we get to Alabama. And then we have.
I didn't leave out Mississippi State because I didn't get to them. Your first 3 weeks are against high school teams.
Yeah. Hey, I've already admitted that. That's when someone said light schedule. Yeah, that's our light part of the schedule. And then we have to go through the SEC West after that. So, yeah, especially breaking in a new quarterback, Haynes King or Calzada, which personally I think is going to be Haynes King. I see you raising your hand. What's good?
So we have Haynes King here on the screen. Thanks for TFT. I actually wanted to talk to everybody here because all three of our teams have quarterback competitions going on. And we can start with Haynes King versus Zach Calzada. Brandon, who we leaning to? I feel like A&M people want it to be Haynes King. Is that your feel?
That's my feel. That's all right. You have, first of all, he's the coach's son. That carries value in it, especially from a leadership perspective. Secondly, I think he's a slightly better overall athlete than Calzada.
He is a better athlete than
I think Calzada has a much better arm as far as accuracy. But I think, Jimbo's supposed to be this coach guru or QB guru. Let him teach him how to be accurate. If not, hey, be an athlete. You have a quarterback who can run a 4.4. Not only do you have to worry about all the potential skill positions, running back, tight end, receiver, but hey, if he can extend a play or move the chains with his feet, I like that.
Are either one of them capable of completing a pass to a receiver on A&M, or are we just going to keep having the receivers just stock block?
I tell you what,
4 quarters.
Hey, until you show that you can cover Weidemeyer, why does he need to throw it to a receiver?
Yeah, no. I mean, seriously, if he has that beast tight end who's going to be I'd say a top 20 pick.
Absolutely.
Next year draft.
Tight end,
and don't forget,
the line, the backs.
Smith,
don't forget, Damon is still there, and he was having a hell of a spring before his injury. So we have receiver talent.
Right,
Smith
but if you want to
he could be there.
If you want to win the SEC, y'all gonna have to be more dynamic than that. That's my point.
I agree. We will have to be more dynamic, but I mean, right now we're going to lean heavily on our defense. We had top 4 overall total defense in the SEC. So I mean, we got to lean on that squad to carry us, especially in this breaking in a new QB.
So it looks like we're leaning towards Haynes King being the guy. So let's move on to Max Johnson versus Miles Brennan. Billy, your boy. I think you're the leader of the Max Johnson fan club, Billy. Talk to me about your boy.
Well, first of all, before I get into that, not once did I hear Brandon mention that last game of the year. I wonder why, but we'll get to that later. They got to come our way this year, so that's always a plus. So anyway,
that's all that matters.
Well, that was last season. It's over, huh? Yeah, season's over.
Hey.
Okay, Max Johnson is. I mean, this is what I look at. Performance for Miles Brennan. He had Brandon Marshall. He had Gilbert. Performance of Max Johnson. He had neither of those. Goes on the road, losing in the 4th quarter, beats Florida. Maybe got lucky with a shoe throw. Yeah, that's what they say. So, that's good. And then, Ole Miss, they were playing better ball down the stretch, trailing in the 4th quarter. We win that game too. To get us to 500. I think if Max Johnson actually plays against A&M, I won't say we were going to win because we played like trash on offense, but we would have had a better chance to actually move the ball on them, that's a whole different scenario. But I also like the efficiency on 3rd and 4th down by Max Johnson. It's not something you teach, but he has those same qualities. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. I'm just saying where if it's 3rd and 1, Tom Brady's getting the 3rd and 1. okay? When it's 4th and 1, he's getting the 4th and 1. The reason we lost to Missouri is because we were on the 1-yard line. We ran 4 plays, and we couldn't sneak it in with our quarterback. And as a young quarterback with a young receiving core trying to progress, when you can be efficient on 3rd down, it leads to success. And so that's my thought and my take on it. Obviously, they're going to play, and we'll find out, who's the best. But from what I saw, some people just have some things that you can't really teach and put your hand on or can't describe. But you could see the support from the players around them. You set an SEC record in the Ole Miss game with another true freshman for the most yards ever.
Butte is a beast, though.
And so you tell me who you're going to start if I just laid that out to you and you didn't know any names, no nothing. I mean, if you got common sense, that's what I'm going with. But you also have to play it out. They have been playing, and they are working their tails off. We're going to camp. I think it's Max Johnson. Miles Brennan's beats him. He beats him. I don't want him starting just because he's a senior and he stayed around. That's a loser mentality. If you're not the best, you don't play. But I also don't think it's the worst thing in the world to have 2 people you can count on. Now, do you do a 2-quarterback system? I don't think so. I also like Max Johnson's ability to move in the pocket. He can run if he needs to because he's 6'5" and he's big and fast. But he's not a runner. He just can create,
he has enough mobility.
Right.
Billy,
So that's my thought.
I think it's going to be interesting because, Miles wasn't terrible when he played at the early season. I understand he had all the weapons. I mean, y'all's defense was the one that gave up the 600-something yards to Mississippi State. That wasn't necessarily a Miles Brennan issue. And Scott Linehan and all that mess and all these guys at the beginning of the year, that was just a bad situation. And then he gets hurt. So, I agree with you because what you're saying, a lot of that mirrors in some ways the quarterback situation we're in between Casey Thompson and Hudson Card. Before I get to that, I want to thank KJ. He made a $20 donation, so I'm going to answer his question. Will Texas versus OU take over the SEC Marquee Conference game over Georgia versus Auburn, Alabama versus LSU? So let me get one thing straight right out the way.
Georgia and
Texas fans, this is where people will get us because now we're getting too big for our britches. And I respect to you, KJ. I love the brand. I've talked all that. Just because we walk into the door in your world, just because in your world Texas is the biggest deal doesn't mean that's how it is nationally, okay? And if we look at the numbers, Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Auburn, all these Auburn, A&M, Auburn, Alabama, Iron Bowl, Oklahoma, and Texas will be one of the marquee games. The only way it will be the marquee game is if Texas and OU are in the top 5 and playing the way they should be playing. If Texas is doing the same BS they've been doing the last 10 years, no, that is not among the marquee games. That's me. You see the horns back there. That's just me. That's just us being honest, right? So we have to understand that as Texas fans. If we go to the conference, we have to hold up our end of the bag on the field because we didn't do that the last 10 years in the Big 12. So we can't go up there and expect that we're going to get top billing along Alabama, LSU. The last few times Alabama, LSU played, like 2019, that was 1 versus 2. Yeah, at the time.
We played a bunch of those games actually in the last.
A bunch of 1 versus 2 games. Yeah. So if Texas gets back, like again, 2003, 2000, like early in the 2000s, we had some number 2 Texas versus number 3 OU or number 1 OU versus number 3 Texas. We got to get back to that to be asking this type of question, in my opinion.
Good point.
No, I completely agree. Will it take over? No, but to your point, if you win, yeah, it can be definitely one of the marquee games, if not the marquee game. But until the product on the field represents that, no way.
So I have this one up here from Bones. The real question
is, you do. Yeah, you do. I'll give you the answer. Let the SEC people answer that because y'all don't know. Yes, you will. We play people, but you got to be ranked high. Steven said it because they only get 1 slot. It'll probably be moved to 2. Because they do have a flex, but ESPN now is getting some of those rights. If it's ESPN, it's going to definitely be at night. because they'll take it and put it at their 6:30 night slot. So, but yes, I'll as a SEC with the longevity in this chat, you will be in night, sir, and I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be badass.
It's time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
it's time.
11 a.m. I could barely start drinking at that point. You know, I mean, good Lord. Yeah, LSU people, that don't fit well with us, dude. We need to get it rolling.
That was one of OU's, and one of these chats, I'll get one of my OU friends in here so we can really mix things up. But one of the biggest complaints Castiglione had for years with Fox, the Big 12, why do we have so many 11 a.m. kickoffs? And OU's like, yo, we're winning these games, we're making the playoffs, we're doing all this, we're winning the conference, and y'all still putting us at 11 a.m. What the hell? And the Texas OU thing, not moving off of that. I agree. Like, when I finally got to go to the Cotton Bowl, I felt so rushed. I was still wiping crust out of my eyes. It's so early. It's so early for a football game. We have got to get this thing. And I understand people talking about it's the state fair. It's that night. Blah, woo, woo, woo. Figure it out. I want to see it. I want to see it at least at like 6 p.m. Something to where even if the sun is setting and you get more of the backdrop that you have at like the Rose Bowl or something like that. But like push this thing back, make it prime time. Let us drink. Let us enjoy ourselves and really get into that game.
I'll piggyback that because Trent, I want to ask you: is there potential for this to move to a home and home?
I hope not.
Okay.
I want it in Dallas. I want it in Dallas, and I want it at night, like you were saying.
All right. I like it. I'm just kidding.
Both Steve and I, we've had conversations offline. We always thought that, you know, of course it was
wanted that, right.
Yeah, but we are also thinking that like both sides, both fans base has assholes, and if they're drinking till from 10:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, man, all the police are going to be right there. Right there in the middle.
Might be some missing seats and people who couldn't make it in.
Yeah. So I mean,
the first couple
I'm excited about it.
But we're not the only. I understand we're doing it at the state fair, and that's a huge entity in itself. But like, we're not the only schools that have fan bases that drink.
No, I get it.
Prime time game.
I get it. But there's a little bit difference if like how many of those big schools actually meet on a like right in the middle of each school. Like usually it's not like 50-50 asshole like face off. Like it's not usually that.
It's a great point, actually. That's a great point. Essentially what he's saying is it's 1 versus 1 instead of 5 versus 1.
Yes.
Usually the 1 is going to eventually calm down a tad. But if it's 1v1, you know, everybody gets a little more excited.
Yeah.
I get it. I get you. I think you'll get a little bit more 2:30 too. I think they'll move it down.
I'm cool with 2:30 games.
Yeah, because you're gonna you get those if you're not in the prime time slot, and then if that's
I want a night. Don't get me wrong. I want a nighttime game. I definitely want that. And you know, it would just be great to see it in that setting.
Well, it would just be cool. I mean, I've never seen it. I don't think.
Yeah, neither have I. I mean, it's always been early.
That'd be awesome.
I appreciate everybody in here in the chat. 500 folks in here. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Go ahead, BA.
Just a random question. You guys are already scheduled to play Bama in 2023? Hey, you make the transition. Do you play them twice?
They're not going to do that. I mean, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, they would have to rework.
We would have to do another.
They might incorporate it into the schedule somehow.
I think they would incorporate.
Yeah, we and just add in a new non-conference game.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
Right. I just thought. I mean,
hopefully we're playing them twice because that means we play. Hopefully we play them twice because that means we play them in the SEC championship.
So Sooner Thrawn said it will never be at night. If it's not at night, that's one thing, right? But like, give me something prime time. 11 a.m. is not prime time. That's not the move. Okay, at least get me in a better slot. I see a lot of people talking about crime and all this type of stuff. If crime is that bad, right? And I I'm in this area now. If crime is that bad and you're so concerned about that, then you do need to think about the long-term ramifications of playing that game at the home.
I was going to say home.
If that's restricting you from bringing the most eyeballs possible and making the most money possible, I'm all for the tradition. I want to keep the tradition whole. But if you're telling me that crime is the reason from making this as big as it possibly could be, then we might have to look at some stuff. So
it'll be 2:30. You probably be a lot of 2:30.
If you want to talk about crime, I'm more afraid of Death Valley at 9:30 or in the nighttime than I would be anything else.
Don't be scared. Ain't no reason to be scared. Just come on down.
I'm more afraid of the fans. I mean, I've heard some stories of some fans not making it out. I've seen some videos of what happens when y'all drink all day.
That's every game, though, man. That's just another day.
That's the 2:30 games too.
Yeah,
fellow OU YouTuber here. He said if you want the game at night, it has to move to Jerry World. And I mean, look, those are things you're gonna have to look at.
Yeah.
And that might be something you do every other year. If you want to have it at night, you move it to Jerry World. If you want to have it during the day, you keep it at the Combo. But people are gonna bitch either way, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. But I think we all agree that the game, we don't want to see the game at 11 a.m. anymore. I think we are in agreement there as a group. I want to go for a few more minutes before we cut the stream, just because we have so many people here volunteering and their time to be with us. And I appreciate all you guys. Billy, I can't wait for you to entertain us in Baton Rouge and tailgate properly, because we didn't get to do that this year.
That was disappointing.
So sad. So hopefully we might get that opportunity back sooner than we all realized. Wes Bearden, thank you for the super chat. $5 said 80% of my family's from Texas and now spread out. Half is Texas, half is Alabama, some LSU. Texas to SEC will be so fun. That's actually a really good point from a family and people's regions. Like, we always talk about people, our friend group. Like, look how diverse our friend group is with these teams. Like, now we're going to be even closer together. Tyler, who's not here, closer together with him. And we could talk about the bet. Tyler told me about the bet you and him have about Max Johnson versus Bryce Young for this season. But all of our teams, our families, I talk about people who are married to people that go to A&M or married to people that go to OU. I have people in my family that are Oklahoma fans. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see the dynamic of folks as we continue to see this thing get closer and closer to forming.
I'm pretty excited to see y'all two play again, to be truthful. I'll say it. I know you two are still sour pants as, A&M and Texas fans right now, but at the end of the day, if you're looking at the big picture, it's a good thing to have y'all back playing each other eventually, and it's good for the game. It's good for the state. Texas is a state, and the reason it's so great is because they like their people in Texas, right? And so anytime you can keep those, at the end of the day, it's fun. Yeah, they have people, I don't blah, blah, whatever. Well, you're immature, you grow up. This is fun to see your friends and family get to play on opposite sides and compete. And I'm excited about that. Plus, I want to play OU. I would like us to take on. I know we'll keep Florida.
Of course, you want to play OU. Y'all beat them by 75 points the last time you played.
No. I'm just saying, they might be our common opponent. I'd be another one of our common opponents. I'd be really excited about that in my world if I was just to pick something for LSU. So.
Well, I appreciate everybody jumping into the chat tonight, and we'll do more of these. We'll do another one where we actually go through our teams and preview. I will. One last question before we bounce. We talked about y'all's quarterback situations. Who do y'all like for our quarterback situation? Casey Thompson or Hudson Card? Or how do you think it will play out under Steve Sarkisian?
How do I think it'll play out? I think right now you got to lean on the leadership of Casey Thompson. See how he does, and if he's not doing what you need to, you move on to Hudson Card. I mean, I don't know the situation as in depth, but you have a guy that's been in the program a little bit longer. He hasn't done anything to necessarily lose that spot from what I can tell in talking with you guys. So But I've held that, Hudson Card is a hell of an athlete. He's the kind that, hey, if he doesn't start at quarterback, he can go get reps at receiver. That's the type of athlete I've heard he is. So when you have, two good athletes like that who are competing against each other, I mean, we'll see how it plans out.
I think that one of the pluses for Hudson Card is a new regime's in town. And so he's almost starting from square one. Yeah.
Yep.
The other guy's been there, and he does have the college body, and he's been in that program. But as far as learning the offense, understanding reads and things like that, they're in similar situations. So that's a plus for him. In those situations, those guys, really never played. The camps are big. This is going to be a big camp for both of them. There's no film to look back on. There's no, there's some, he got to play in the last game, but overall, where the situation, it's going to be fun. I think it's a toss-up right now, in my opinion. If Hudson Card can ball, he needs to play. That's the way I look at it. If he can ball, he needs to play. If he can't and he's not ready, then go ahead.
You mentioned who can make the reads right now. I think the read right now is hand the ball to Bijan. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah. 20
That's
times
easy.
a game. 250
Thank you.
yards.
Thank you for the donation, Gary. And what are your concerns Texas fans have with Steve Sarkisian? For me is I'll be honest with you, just understanding the landscape of needing to win now and have success in the Big 12, and the all gas no brakes thing being as real as it's not a specific criticism when it comes to Steve Sarkisian, but just in general, and understanding the landscape of this and getting off to the best start possible, because we haven't seen it at Texas for so long. But I do think he has the proper temperament. I think he's going to handle and make the best decision for the quarterbacks, because that's his expertise. And all the things that I was frustrated with Tom Herman about regarding him being removed at first from the quarterback thing, being removed at first from the offense, and then when he never knew what he wanted to do, and then he got too involved. It was weird. I think Steve Sarkisian understands I got to play this like Lincoln Riley plays it. Offense is my baby, quarterback's my baby. And what I did at Alabama, that's not going away in terms of my play design, my play calling. That's why I loaded up the staff to take care of all those other things so I can be focused on these duties. So I'm excited to see that. But in terms of addressing concerns, I'll have a better answer probably closer to the season when I really, really get a read on how this team looks full force. But we are getting ready to wrap here.
Steve, can I touch on that one?
Oh, go ahead, Tran. Go ahead.
So I don't have many concerns with it because of the people that we've spoken to. When we sat down and talked to Caden, Caden hasn't played for him, but he's gotten to witness his practices firsthand, and he basically gushed about him in the
Caden was gushing. Mm-hmm.
Another one is it was hidden behind everything. Kyle Shanahan. They went and talked to Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle Shanahan was the one who said you should go talk to Steve Sarkisian. They talked to Pete Carroll. You should talk to Steve Sarkisian as well. So two big people who understand football and understand the X's and O's. I mean, even Brandon, who is not necessarily hates Texas or anything like that. He absolutely, it's on tape. He said, I think you guys should talk
on a
about
roundtable.
Which is on tape that y'all also completely disregarded that I said it. So
I did not. I just gave you credit.
I
just gave you credit.
Even when you try to give
the credit to the Napier comment, it's like I said Sarkisian, and Steve is like, okay. So back to the Napier comment, Billy.
The thing that
I was wrong, brother. You still bringing up old shit.
I just have to show the receipt. That's it. I'm sorry.
Right.
Go ahead, Trey.
How many times you want me to tell you were right, brother?
I just like having it on. I just like having it on record.
Now you have it on 3 videos. You were right about that. You were right about the call.
Right. 3 in a row.
Focus on him. Okay. But the thing that I'm
give an Aggie a hug, man.
Yeah, seriously, man. We're family again. All right, we're family again. Come on now. No. The thing that concerns me is, and this may not even be a concern towards the end of the season, is I haven't seen Sark playing a close game in over a year and a half. Like him coach a close game in over a year and a half, and that was LSU. And it's still, honestly, the score was a lot farther than it should have been. I mean, it was a 4-point win for LSU, but honestly, it was more,
that game wasn't as close as the final score, right?
But all last year they dominated, and it's really easy to coach at a high level when you're blowing teams out. You're not going to have a dog at every single position like he did at Alabama last year here. So that's the thing. When it's a close game, I want to see how he game plans for those close situations. One of the things that threw me off was our 2-minute drill for the past 2 years. I wanted to smack someone in the face. Like, I didn't know what was going on. So I want to see that. I want to see his game planning for, we have the ball, a minute and a half left. What are we going to do? So, I mean, little things like that. That's what concerns me, because the unknown.
Even outside of a game, I'm glad you mentioned that, Tramp, because the managing the game, understanding when to go for it, understanding when to kick a field goal, understanding when hey, there's X amount of time left on the clock. We don't have any timeouts, but I trust my quarterback in this situation to run another play and not take a sack, right? Or preserve the clock. Let's get what we can. But, game situations, not having to call a timeout after a kickoff, right? Like, just some of these things being common sense and other things being feel of the game. Those are things like, I know the scheme will be good, but will those things, to your point, I think that's a very, very key thing. When the games are close, does he have those instinctive things? And going back to Washington, I know he was, he kind of helped build that up. But the things that people point about, he never won 10 games as a head coach and whatnot. And, he's had ups and downs. Hopefully he's learned from that, and we're getting a prime peak version of Steve Sarkisian, and helped by this wonderful staff that I think we've put together and spent a lot of money on. Guys, thank y'all so much for jumping on. We'll have to do this again, especially now that I know how to work and figure out the stream. I apologize again for starting late tonight, but it was.
I'll take the blame for that. I didn't log in till 7:03. I'll take the blame for it.
No worries, but I appreciate everybody jumping on. 450 people in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for the donations tonight. Thank you guys for getting us to 10K. Please keep up with the channel. We're going to have some more videos coming out. Our Caden Stearns interview was fantastic. Go check that video out when you get a chance. If you want to get some insights, as Tran said, Caden Stearns was really, really, really excited about this staff and the things he's seeing behind the scenes. So, guys, I appreciate everybody out there. To my Horns fans, Horns always up. Brandon, Billy.